Last night we moored our narrowboat between locks 9W and 8W on the Huddersfield Narrow Canal, and today we're going to be leaving this canal and moving on to the Ashton Canal. Staley Lock is just in front of the mooring, and Michael has set it for us while I bring the narrowboat along. This canal is one of the quieter navigations, but in autumn and winter it's especially quiet, and we're not expecting to see any other boats moving today. Below the lock, the sides of the canal are lined with sheet steel. This is because before the canal reopened in 2001, it had to be rerouted slightly, and this is the new section. The navigation narrows, and then we pass under an electricity pylon that straddles the canal. If you remember to look up, you get quite a unique view. We're on the outskirts of Stalybridge, and it's pretty industrial along the canal. The Huddersfield Narrow Canal is only about 20 miles long, but it has a whopping 74 locks on it, which averages out at over 3 locks per mile. The canal roughly follows the route of the River Tame all the way from Mill, and we're right next to the river here. There's a winding hole above lock 7. This lock was actually filled in after the canal closed in the 1960s. You can see the stone walls at the lower end of the lock that's original, but at the head of the lock the walls are made with poured concrete. We pass under Mottram Road, and you can see the date of its construction as we move into the tunnel. In Stalybridge, much of the canal had been infilled, so it had to be rebuilt all the way through the town. Before the canal was restored, this area was occupied by the Delta factory, which made car aerials and antenna cables. The Tesco store was built on the site of the factory at the same time that the canal was restored. Lock 6 had to be completely rebuilt, and it was moved from its previous site slightly further up the canal. Lock 5 had also been infilled after the canal closed, and it was surrounded by a new development. Miraculously, much of the lock chamber survived, however some of its coping stones were missing, and so stones that were recovered from the original chambers of Lock 4 and Lock 7 were used to replace these. Lock 4 is the last of the Stalybridge locks, and this is another new build. This one had to be relocated due to construction over the original lock chamber. This sweeping bend changes the direction of the canal by about 90 degrees, and where the canal narrows ahead is the site of an old swing bridge. At Stakes Aqueduct we cross over the River Tame. The boat you can see behind us just pulled off the moorings after we pass, but the kind boaters on that boat help us through. The pound between Lock 3 and Lock 2 is incredibly short. This old derelict mill building is Wellington Mill, and it looks really overdue for redevelopment. The canal narrows at Whitelands Tunnel. Much of the tunnel roof has now been removed, and it's open to the elements. That was our last lock on the Huddersfield Narrow Canal. Then, after we pass under Whitelands Bridge, we rejoin the Ashton Canal. This bridge carries a Trans-Pennine railway line over the water. The towpath leaves the canal here, so if you're walking you have to go over the top and through the Asda car park, while the canal travels right under the supermarket building itself. Eventually the towpath returns, and we're approaching Portland Basin and Dukinfield Junction, where the Peak Forest Canal meets the Ashton Canal, and this is where we're going to find a mooring.